There we go. Then you didn't have to have that shouted at you. Hello, Anne. I knew there was something.
Sorry, you just make me go. I just love the fact you're just so completely natural. Yeah, it's radio. Yeah, folks are listening. It's just like it's always like, hello. Oh yeah, I forgot to record. Never mind. We'll carry on as we do.
Yes. Well, I mean, if we don't record, it'll still go out, but it'd be nice to actually reuse it again later. So, I like to do that before we get there, and I knew there was something I'd forgotten to do, and I don't like to do it after I hit the go live button because it shouts it over the radio, which I don't want to do.
No, no, very considerate as you are.
Well, it's annoying as well, to be honest.
Mm.
Yes. Hey, look, this is live radio. It's not going to be flawless. If this show ever becomes flawless, it won't be me doing it, and it'll be very boring. So, mistakes are part of life. It's we can't eradicate them. How you doing, Anne?
I am really well, thank you. Yes, I am. Look, I have a week where I'm going to be off island next week, so it's interesting. Just trying to. It's always strange when you have a change coming up and a move and a holiday or something just a bit different. I'm not sure actually if I'd quite describe it as a holiday, but anyway, it's something different, and I'm going to be flying off island again. So it's like, yeah, okay, managing this week and then preparing for next week, always ramps things up somewhat.
Now, Jersey's not exactly a small island as they go. It's not exactly Sark in the Channel Islands. It's a little bit bigger than that as
Mhm.
they go. But do you have to travel off a base? I know it sounds like a silly question, but a lot of people probably don't know what Jersey is or where it is. Perhaps a little bit of geography might be relevant. Where is Jersey and
Yeah.
what is Jersey?
Do you know, I'd always like to work for the Jersey Tourism Board, apart from being like, yeah, a metal singer. It's like I'd love to work for the tourism board because I love our island. And I think anybody who kind of knows me thinks that, yeah, anybody mentions Jersey and I'm like, my heart starts pounding. It's like, oh, come and visit. So yeah, no, it's a little island. It's part of the Channel Islands off the south coast of England, but very close, only about 14 miles off France. So we're much closer to France. We are not part of the UK. We are not part of Great Britain, but we are part of the British Isles. So we have our own government, we have our own currency, we have our Jersey pounds, but it's still sterling. But whether sterling gets accepted in the rest of the UK, because it should be accepted, or even whether it gets accepted in Guernsey, which is one of the other Channel Islands. And we've got Herm, we've got Sark, we've got lots of little islands. Jersey's the biggest, and we are our own self-governing place. And then you've got the other Channel Islands that look after themselves. So we're just a bit of a mismatch, really. But it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful place.
It is. I remember going to Scotland, being given a 20 quid note from a cash machine, came into England, can't use that. That's not
Mm.
English. I had, let's just say, a robust conversation about the importance of accepting legal tender in shops. It's
Yeah.
Scottish. We're not Scottish. Yes. However, Scottish pounds, English pounds, still sterling, absolutely the same. So there was a robust conversation, shall we say, and they took the money when they called for the manager, and I started to get a bit annoyed. But it's funny how we can get stuff in our head. Because, of course, there's the Isle of Man, which is another island very far away from you are, which is the northwest of England, sort of off the coast of Liverpool, that sort of area. You got the Isle of Man. But I just thought it was fascinating because we always talk about the Isle of Jersey. And I wondered if people are thinking, I can't find it on my map. Where is it in England? Well, yes, you speak English, and I've been to Jersey. It's beautiful. There's French road names like Guernsey, which really throws you when everyone's speaking English. English police cars, English trucks, English fire engines, and then you've got French names. It's bizarre until you've been there, and it starts to feel quite normal.
Yeah, yeah, and the fact that we're split into parishes, and it's just like, oh, where else does parishes? So our kind of government runs on parishes. We're split into 12, and we have our own little. You have your church, and you've got your corner shop, and you've got so it's beautiful that the way we're split into 12, I think, is gorgeous. But we're quite what we call parochial. And Jersey has its own language as well. It has its Jersey French, which is kind of like French, but a bit different too.
Hey, now that's new. I didn't know that.
Ah, yeah. Now
Jersey,
that gets really confusing.
is that like Canadian French? It's sort of French, but not quite.
Yeah, it's like a Breton, Norman French. Apologies if anybody actually knows Jersey French and I'm trying to describe it. But as a French speaker, like as a French speaker that I am, I kind of pick up bits, but no, I couldn't communicate in Jersey French unless I went to some classes. So.
Fine, fine. I just thought it was an interesting little interlude because we talk about you being on the Isle of Jersey. Because the one part of you, which is interesting, is you are working with people, which most people make it makes sense, right? You see them, they come into your office or your studio, and you can do some work with them and all that. But you're working with people all around the world, even though you're on Jersey, because they don't have to come to you, but they kind of do.
Yes. I mean, and that's why, it's one of those downsides. I think with everything in life, it's always looking for the opportunities, whether you've got a disability, an illness, some sensory needs, whatever it is, you've got to find the positives. So with me being on the island, okay, my husband's got multiple sclerosis, a visual impairment. I can't leave him with my children, or I couldn't. But people want what I have because I have developed what I do because I love it as an occupational therapist. So how can I do it? That was one of those questions. Okay, just praying, saying, okay, how do I do this to be able to meet people's needs? I didn't have a centre. I didn't have anywhere apart from my own home to be able to see people, plus home educating. It's like, okay, how do I work smarter? And then I started into the online space, and that's just been just absolutely brilliant to be able to reach people, to connect with people, regardless of where they are in the world, to be able to help them. So, what would have been a real negative, because it's really expensive for me to get off the island, because it's not just the flights, it's then the accommodation, and it's the hire car, and it's the, all of those other things compound. Which that's the downsides of it. But the positives are I can do so much here from the screen, and it's forced me to learn new skills to be able to go ahead and serve people the way that I do. So yeah, I'm mightily delighted. So I can go out and walk around this beautiful island and feel very safe in this island. And enjoy it for what it is, and have my small community that I feel very, very much a part of, but I can reach anybody. And I think I spend more time talking to people on Zoom than I do actual face to face. But that's because I love that. And that's because I'm able to reach people all over.
Okay, well, here's today's topic then. You're an occupational therapist. Originally, that's where you trained as, that's what you are. Obviously, the sensory health is, I say, a bolt-on part. That's sort of unplaying it a little bit, but it's an element of what it is that you do as an occupational therapist. But one obvious question before I go into the topic that you've now just given me, were you technological happily? No, that's terrible English. Were you happy with technology, or were you a bit of, oh, I'm not so sure, but I'll have to use it? Where were you? Where did technology fit before you started becoming a
Oh,
digital provider of a service?
oh, horrific. Honestly, like the number, I mean, for the first 4 years, bumps, bruises, and breakthroughs was how I described my first 4 years. Even things like, oh, I've now got a proper microphone. The fact, how on earth do you record yourself when you've got Windows, whatever it was back in the day, on a computer that's, £300, and you're trying to do some videos and you're trying to record yourself and thinking, I'm learning this, but how on earth do I do this? And then I was even on something pre-Zoom. So I know, I was on Zoom before COVID. But there was even something that was like start meeting, before Zoom, before that, plus other bits and pieces that we were working with. So I had to learn and get my head down and think we're never too young. We're never too young to learn. And I knew that I needed to learn if I was going to grow in this. That's for sure. But it was a very kind of painful 4 years. And I spent a lot of time, I genuinely spent time on the floor crying because it was just so hard. Or I thought I'd done something and then I lost it. Or I just couldn't break through something. And then you just pause, you go away, you come back, and then you try again. And then over time, it all clicks. And when people look at what I've done now and they're just like, you are joking, what built this on your own. It's just like, yeah. With bringing in experts where I can to help me. But all of that costs, it just costs. So it's much better if I have time to be able to invest that time to learn skills, and then I can just put them into play.
Now, the thing I thought would be interesting was, as an occupational therapist, part of your role is to help people into occupation, hence the therapy occupational bit. So it's how do you take someone from where they are? It could be, I mean, there's different elements of being an OT. Of course, there's sort of physical therapies of aching muscles, or they don't need to learn to walk again. And how do I do a job if I'm missing a leg? Can I do a job? And there's all sorts of bits and pieces of occupational therapy. Now, you specialized in sensory health, but your journey from not being technologically happy, realizing there are things you don't actually can't do, that basically is what you go through every single day. If you know where I'm going yet, but that's what you go through every day with your with people who come to you for help because, well, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You know, my wife cannot sit still. She can't hold a pencil still. She's always fiddling, and then you can start to zone into what's going on, and you can help. You look for the clusters of information. I do listen, and then you can work out. Well, perhaps this is the problem. Then you can work with them. But at some point, there is that we can't do this. It's too hard. It's too great. Which is
Yeah.
what you went through
Yeah.
from not being happy with technology to making it something that works for you. So, what was your sensory healthy journey like? Going from crying on the floor to the day when you didn't.
Mm. That was very, that is where my preferred space, the sauna, which has almost been taken over by the swimming pool, actually, because I am learning how precious it is not to have anything else in my ears. Obviously, I don't do that when I'm in the sauna, and I can be quiet, I can be warm, I can be. It feels snug. The lights are down, especially if nobody's talking. It is just the most exquisite, beautiful thing for recharging, resettling, regulating who I am and how I am. And I can meditate in there. I can do whatever I need to in there. But moving into swimming on a regular basis now. I was never a swimmer. The amount of time and energy and effort, there's a whole load of sensory health involved with getting unchanged in the cold. And then, you've got wet suits. You're fine if you've got a wet swimsuit in the pool, but it's when you get out and it's all wet and soggy and it's cold and it's like, it's like, There are certain things that you don't like about it. But this new place where I'm going, everything just encompasses that. Partly temperature, the temperature being that bit warmer, so it's more pleasant to be wet outside of the pool. That's a beautiful. Well done, swimming pools, for those who consider just the basics, those sensory basics of our tactile perception of temperature and what feels pleasant to us. And you get a towel when you go in, and so I don't have to think about all of those things. But yeah, you were talking about the journey. The journey was huge, but absolutely, I have had to OT myself. And what I do, there's an element of what I do which is slightly different, which is other help other OTs start and scale their own businesses, so build their own businesses. But it's about using those OT skills because we are going to get confronted. Anybody who wants to step out and do something different, whether it be because of their disability or their needs, or because they just want to do something different, we absolutely need to OT ourselves to face those things, that are difficult, break them down, work out what is it about this that is so hard. Where do I need to go to get the solutions? And then pace yourself in a way that doesn't cause extra stress, because it's the pacing of moving forward, pressing through any difficulty, pressing through learning a new skill, whether it be learning something because you've lost something through an accident or otherwise. It is just how we can do that without putting pressure and stress on ourselves. So I was chatting, I had a mum last night from America, chatting with her, and it's just backpedaling. It's just like we need to go back. Just see things in a completely fresh way. Take the diagnosis out of the situation. Let's look at them as a person. Let's look at how your family functions. Let's look at what you can cope with. What do you have capacity to do as mum? And then let's start feeding things back in there. I think so often we don't take enough steps back. We don't pause. It's that sense of reflection, but it's take a step back and then take a step back and then take another step back and just keep asking, why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? And keep asking why. If I'm doing something, we'll ask again, well, why are you doing that? And then you get an answer. And then it's just like, well, ask that why again, so that you can try and get to the root of what is going on a little bit quicker. For someone who knows what I'm talking about, you'll get it. Sorry, that might sound a bit vague for others. But it's just keep asking why. When you get an answer to something, it's either why or what's going on. Keep going back, keep going back, keep going back until you've got nothing left. And then you're more likely to get to the root of an issue.
Interestingly, there's the classic thing of the small toddler. Why? 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 Why is that cow black and white? Well, it's the way it is, but why is that? And why is it in a field? Why is the grass green? Why are the trees ugly at the top and weirdly horrible at the bottom? And they hurt you? Why? 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 And it's part of the exploration of something. And we sort of, I don't know, do we kind of laughingly tolerate or bless them? Actually, it's part of learning to ask why. We work with a lot of different software because we're a global digital media station. There's all sorts of bits of software that has to work that doesn't want to work together, and somebody somewhere has found a way, and it'll go wrong, and you're thinking why. And one of the questions that we have to frequently ask is, that doesn't sound right. Why? Why is it wrong? And then you go into problem solving mode. So we had some distortion recently, and I immediately heard it in my headphones. I thought, well, let's problem solve. So you go through all the different stuff. Is it the headphones? Is it the socket the headphones are plugged into? That's a cable. What's the other end of that cable? And you start going through all the physical stuff. And then you think, okay, the physical's all fine. There's no problem with that. Okay, and then we have another problem. So you start listing on different devices and realizing now this is a global issue. Okay, but what's the global issue? Why is it happening? So that question, why, it's effectively the most wonderful, if you've got the patience, problem solving approach. Because if you understand not just what's happening, that's the diagnosis, like you said, but understanding why it's happening, well, then you can fix it. But if you don't know the why, you might accidentally stumble across a fix, which I've done and I don't like at all. I like to know what's wrong and why I fixed it so I can fix it next time. But sometimes just asking why, and again, but having the patience to actually wait for the answer or find the answer.
And I think that's what's really lovely, that we each have our own specialisms. So I love sensory health. I love looking at people. I love looking at what they do and what's going on. I love assessing it, breaking it down, especially from the sensory perspective when I observe something that's going on. And then you behind your desk and all your radio bits and pieces and all your technological pieces, we all go through that process. And I think that's what really inspires most of us. I think we all nearly all get a kick from understanding, from that problem solving, and then applying it to the area of specialism that we know, not to feel more proud or to feel above anybody else, but it's just actually, this is the area that I've spent time in and I know this and that I can help somebody. And that's what I love as a therapist, because that's basically what any of us do. We just take time to delve deeper into something. So when those whys are brought forth, we've actually got some understanding and then solutions to what the why needs to do, what why is going on, and then what we can do to actually meet that why. And I love the fact that we can specialize in those things, whether it means training or just experience. Parents being parents, you're just so experienced just because life drags you through the process with very little training. You've trained more, you've self-taught so much. I've been through official training and all kinds of training, and I love that variety that all of us, I think, in some capacity, if our brains allow it, have that problem-solving approach and that satisfaction to finding solutions. Again, whether we realize we're actually doing it or not, I think it's one of those underlying instinctive things that we do.
I was thinking about some of the people that come your way, whether it's the husband who's got a wife, he just doesn't know why she can't sit still, or the mum that's got a child. It's like, what's wrong with them? Why won't they leave their socks on? Whatever age of the person is or the particular problem, there are so many. But actually, although there's a lot of tiredness, perhaps more so, and emotions that come into that, actually, if we've got a problem on the radio, I take that very personally, because I want to fix it really rapidly, because a bad audio output is really, really bad. And so I don't just think, oh, well, never mind, let's have a go. Everything stops. I call the entire office, stop what you're doing. We're on this problem now, because we have to resolve it fast. So everybody knows if there's a problem on the output, everything stops. Apart from interviews that are happening somewhere or a phone call that may be important, but get off it. Because actually, the principle of what we have to do is no different from what you're going to do with somebody who's got sensory health issues, from what you went through as somebody who thought, well, I can do this virtually. It's the same thing. And tiredness makes things hard, but that can be an excuse if we're not careful. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I'm sorry, I shouted at your head off. I was just tired. It's still wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Might explain it, but it's not okay. And this is something you said repeatedly, especially perhaps with children and some of the issues of sensory health. Well, yeah, we understand the sensory health implications of that autism or that ADHD, but bad behavior is still bad behavior. And tiredness doesn't make it okay. Might help us to understand it. But then the question is not, why are you shouting at me, whatever, but actually, you're tired. Why are you tired? Back to the why. Are you tired because you're not sleeping, because you're stressed, because there's too much going on? And it's the same thing that you're doing with people who come into you with sensory health issues. And come back to you setting up what you're doing virtually as a OT, you had to overcome problems, because then there's the why. But I've clicked the button. Why isn't it working? And you want to help someone who's the other side of the world, who's waiting for that thing. I've pressed the button. Why can't I see them? Okay, now I can hear them, but they can't hear me. But you have to overcome those things, because then the anxiety starts to rise and the tension starts to rise. Your ineffectiveness increases, because now you're stressed and you want to get it done. And you have to overcome all that, but you come through to the other side. So actually, the journey of us with the noise, the journey of you becoming an OT, or the journey of someone with a sensory health issue, I think what I'm trying to say here is, encouragingly, hopefully, actually, it's the same basic journey of a human being facing a problem and having to find a way of overcoming. But that having to overcome is really an important part of the process of the motivation behind actually doing something about it.
Yeah, it is huge, and it's doing it at a pace. I often talk in business about doing things at the pace of peace, because and when you're dealing with your own sensory health issues, and you know you want to get somewhere, or you just even want to be able to get yourself dressed in the morning, you just want to be able to get out, you want to be able to focus at a team meeting, whatever those things are, it's like small incremental steps. Yeah, we shore up the basics, where we can, but it's also giving yourself an awful lot of grace, because when you look back, it's remarkable how far you've come. So I think I'm trying to think of what the phrase is. I think it's something like, don't underestimate. Don't you probably overestimate what you will manage in a year, but don't underestimate what you'll manage in 3. So it's the sense where sometimes, because we're such an instant society, we think, oh, actually, if I can just apply myself, I can do this. But there's so many other things that come into play for those kind of things, that just life gets in the way. So it's great to have goals of, this is what I want to achieve, but be realistic within it, because otherwise you do get frustrated. You do get, and being frustrated about anything just doesn't help the body, doesn't help your mindset. We constantly have to take those thoughts captive. We have to work out, get our gratitude back, get our realism, just offload offload the frustrations to God too, because we can't just deny they're not there, because they are, but we try and reframe where we can, and just small steps, and be satisfied and be thankful with those small steps. And when it literally, like when I was on the floor in tears thinking, I just cannot do this, it's taking time out, pick yourself up again. Oh, what was there? There was a verse I was came across, well, not came across, but yesterday it came back. A righteous man, and what is it? A righteous man will fall 7 times, but the difference between him and a fool, and the unrighteous, is the fact that he gets back up again. And I think there's power in knowing that, okay, that's talking perhaps from ways that we may stumble in our sinful nature, just that natural default place that we're in. We are going to fall. We are going to do things naturally that just don't sit well with God, don't sit well with other people, just because we're human. Although we may try and just ask the Holy Spirit to help us in everything that we do, and every way that we are. But it's like, when we do fall down, when you're learning how to dress yourself again, or when you're learning how to focus a little bit more, or when you're learning a new business, you are going to fall. It's not going to be straightforward all the time. Accepting that, and then recognizing, I need to get up again. It's when we give up or when we stop, that's when it's not good. So anything that I can do to help people just pick themselves up again and start again, anything I can do, even for friends or, anybody, just let's get back up again and let's move forward. Because if we're trying to move, we will get somewhere at some point.
But coming back to that, I mean, your day job effectively, which is working with folk who have got sensory health of some sort, or suspected sensory health of some sort. There's a beginning point for them when they realise that maybe there's a problem. Whether it's, my favourite story that you've ever shared is somebody who couldn't pick up a piece of paper because they couldn't cope with a feeling to their skin, or one of the first stories that we actually talked about, we helped someone who had a question about that had brain surgery. They literally have brain damage and they were struggling with retention. Not they were forgetful, but retention of facts is difficult. It's different. So we helped some of them. One of the first things we ever did, which is great. But there's all these situations, and eventually you realize I can't do it. I need some help. Now, for you, with trying to work out how do I use this? Well, it wasn't even Zoom. How do I do this? Yes, there's support around there. Probably the more you spend, the better the support gets, of course. But you're trying to do it on a budget if you're a small business and you're trying to make it work. So at some point, you get to the point, I can't do this. But as long as you've tried to do all that you can, when you've come as far as you can, there is a situation when you think, you know, I can't do this anymore. This is too hard. But if you're trying to make it work, then that doesn't allow to be in your head for very long because you find another way. And so at some point, you came to the point of, I can't do this. And then you realize you can. And all of a sudden, what happened to you when you thought, I actually can do this? Or more specifically, I guess, I already am doing this.
Yeah. That there's a strength, and there's a strength of character that comes, I think, recognizing each mountain that we all climb. Each, no matter how, even if it's a molehill, for some people, a molehill is huge, just. So somebody we were celebrating that somebody had actually told that a child recognized that they need to go to the loo, and we were celebrating. It's the fact, hurrah, finally. And this is someone who's past the age of potty training. So this is someone who doesn't have good interoception, not aware that this is something that they need to do. So that may from the outside look like a molehill, but for the family it was huge because it's not great when your child doesn't tell you or doesn't recognize that they need the loo. There's lots of consequences, for everybody, when they do end up going to the loo and they're maybe not quite up, in the bathroom where they need to be at the time. So molehills, mountains, whatever it is, they build that lovely, lovely strength of character. They do build that resilience. And that's the painful process that I think God takes us on sometimes to get past ourselves and to grow into something more than we are, more than we think we are, more than we've ever done before, because the capacity that I think we have as humans is huge. We just don't often make the most of it.
I think probably because we're just too scared to try, because it went wrong last time. What if it goes wrong next time? But when it went wrong last time, you learned something, right? So you you knew that next time you do it, you don't turn the microphone on first, you turn it on second, or I don't know, whatever the particular thing is that you're doing.
Yeah.
And we do learn from our mistakes. And the same for you when you were trying to become a virtual OT, which is part of what you do. In the same way that you're trying to help someone who's got a sensory health issue, there is that aha moment of, I understand. What I've been teaching my boys to drive recently, they've just got the bite point on the car. Where is it? How smooth do you need to be? So rather than that lurching forward because they're just bringing the clutch up in one action, they're now finding it, feeling it, and coming through. From a sensory health perspective, that is such teeny tiny finite motor control.
It is. Isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Just as soon as you said it, I thought, that we really need to have proprioception intact, getting the receptors from our tactile, just from the clothes, just as our legs slightly lift off, if depending on what size of legs you have, but as it lifts off, you can feel the difference in the pressure in your skin, against your clothes, the angle of your foot. All of that has to be memoried in your brain. You have to remember that motor memory of exactly quite where it is, and that intimate proprioceptive information has to be there. And that's why so many of my people can't drive, because they don't have that, or can't drive yet, because they don't have that proprioceptive integrity for their brain to know exactly where that bite point is. So it's just like, yeah, well, that's not going to happen. Or we shift into a different car, and it's a different thing. So you don't need the bite in the same way. Maybe that's at that point we go electric, or we go automatic, we go whatever. But it's for those of us who love that manual. It's a beautiful thing. It's really satisfying, isn't it? And I think your boys will feel it also. It's like, yes, we got the bite. It's like, yeah, celebrate those moments.
I'll tell you what, next week, learning to drive sensory health, because I've just come up with 15 things about driving that are absolutely critical into driving and learning to drive. One of the things which I'll share now ahead of next week is, I said to the boys, I haven't turned my head. I don't know what speed you're doing, but you're now doing 30 to 32 miles an hour. How did you know? Because the vibrations in the car changed, and it's changed enough that I know, having driven that car enough,
Yeah.
you got faster. Oh, and so they're now trying to feel the car, which is what I've been saying since the start. Feel the
Amen.
car around you because you can feel the vibrations. The
Mm.
noise changes, and once you start to get tuned into it, not to the point you're not watching the road, just to be clear, but you start to think, oh, the vibrations are changing and the noise has changed. Well, it's gone up a little bit. Okay, and you can check your speed. Hey, you've gone up a little bit, and that's not a problem if you're on a higher speed limit area, but it's a bit of a problem low down. But all of a sudden, you're driving to the speed limit without having to use your eyes on the speedo. Please don't stop doing that entirely. But because your body and your ears and all the rest of it is sensing. So let's do that next week.
Oh,
Let's do.
yes. Oh, there's so much, so much. Hey, we're going to go back to driving. We started there, but it was different back then. Well, we haven't focused this on this in the same way, so that'd be great.
Well, we were doing cab design for trucks 3 years ago. So how to drive a car sounds pretty good. Right, Anne Laure Jackson, thank you. If you want to connect with Anne, you can do. Go to our website, pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ, and you can connect with Anne Laure Jackson on Sante on the Isle of Jersey in the British Isles.
Thank you.
Right?
Beautiful. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Anne.
See you next time.